All right, and we are recording. Welcome back, everybody. Who would like to give the recounting of the previous session and its dire revelations? Or we can watch me play with the cat.
Trying to remember, it was a couple of weeks ago. I'm bad with remembering stuff. How did it start off at the beginning of the episode?
It was the raid of the house, right? Or at the mansion.
Yeah, so the beginning of the raid of the mansion, but
Did it start off with you guys doing tests with the drugs first?
Oh yeah, with the drugs, because Eshon's character went and got his supply while Kite got the other supply so that they could be tested, and then brought them back to and we found out that the white drug was the lesser drug, while the yellow drug was the one that was actually manufactured. So we decided to, which was so complex that we thought that there might be a place that was actually making it. So we decided that, actually no, first we tested on a few other people. The spirit speakers, it nullified their powers and freaked them out. It gave one of the Faythen'ocs psychic powers. He almost accidentally understood the truth, which would have just broken his mind. It did nothing to my character. But after that, we realized that this possibly could be a case of treason, where if someone was going to use it to cut off instant transmission of a word because of the spirit speakers not being able to use their powers, that we decide to raid the house of the accused while he was being pulled out for a talk with the lawyer, where we decided to split into a group of the faith, basically Team Faythen'oc as one group, and the lawyer and the girl with the big gun as the other party. With some shenanigans of involving berries and some attacks, we were able to get through the back, and the team Faythen'oc was able to go through the back area and into the basement to find all the precise ingredients and stuff, while the lawyer team went up to the front and they were able to access inside the house by just talking to the mercenary group that he was able to use the swift justice of law to be able to just pass through. And when the lady of the house tried to set the house on fire, part of Team Faythen'oc came and stopped her from burning anything. That's when they recovered the evidence. And that evidence was that they found the original recipe from 20 years ago with the rest of this news of the super drug, and there was a special name that was signatured on the bottom.
Yes, there was, and that name was Ikoma Masashi, whom you guys went downstairs and confronted him with the document, and that's where you are. Currently, you have Takikamas' wife, Lady Takikamas. You have her locked in her room upstairs, and you are down here. Now, while you guys have been in this province, both of the Faythen'oc have sensed the presence of the beacon much clearer than when you first entered the Empire. It's still very, very far away, but it does feel like it's a guy. It feels like it's a person just of enormous power. And at night, when you dream, particularly you, Draven, because you are well trained in dream defense, so you sort of subconsciously raise your awareness while you're dreaming to protect yourself from psychic invasion. And in so doing, you do get a little glimpse of the astral plane, of all the other people who are sleeping, drifting through the astral, and of a great beacon of light far off in the distance, casting the light of its psychic power across the entirety of the Empire. And the people, when they're caught with this light, do cast shadows. It is just part of the nature of things that a little bit of energy is absorbed and a shadow is cast. And in the shadow of your friend, Draven, in the shadow of your fellow bard, there is something hanging in that shadow, something other than him. And you've noticed this pretty much any time you've been in that sleep state. You, on the other hand, Heldren, you've actually been having straight-up dreams, like kind of wacky dreams. But the previous night, you just can't remember what that dream is until now. Confronting Ikoma Masashi about his involvement in this has triggered a memory that had been locked away. And in this memory, you are beginning to drift into sleep and into dream. And this figure that you've seen before, up close in a previous dream, the man you assume to be the Emperor at this point, the great beacon of psychic energy, has entered your mind. And all of the doorways leading to all of the most important events in your life, all the things that really made you who you are presented in front of you, and all of them swing open. And he gestures to them. Which memory do you take him into?
All right, so this is the Great Beacon.
Yes, the Great Beacon, who
Okay.
is a man.
And he is basically looking into all my memories, and he wants me to take him into one of them, or I'm compelled to take him into one of them.
You're remembering taking him into one of them. Which one do you remember taking him into?
Probably the very brief time I served in kind of my first adventurers party. It left me a little jaded on the world, where the heroes I was with died.
Okay. He watches the scene with great interest, and then he steps out of your mind, seemingly satisfied with what he's seen. And then you kind of hear a noise coming from one of the other doors, one of the other memories in your mind. It's not a super formative memory. It's actually kind of a recent one. And it's not the Emperor. It's something else. Somebody else is in there. You walk over to this door, or you remember walking to the door and opening it to find the ghost that had been haunting you, sitting inside the memory of your receiving your mission from the council. And he is basically in a moment of paused eidetic memory, rifling through the things you glanced at the corner of your eye, documents and things that people accidentally left visible that you didn't even remember you'd remembered, but the images still locked within your mind are here for him to peruse. And he turns and he comments, he says, "He's really good at opening doors, isn't he? Helped me get in here. Don't worry, not going to mess with your mission. I just wanted to see what it was. And it is important, so I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to lock this memory away until, for some reason, you have cause to try to read the mind of Ikoma Masashi, at which point this memory will unlock for me to warn you, do not. I'm saying this because I believe your mission is valuable, and if you try to read the mind of Komi Masashi, you will be unable to complete your mission. We may have different missions, but we both serve Faythen'oc, and I do not want to compromise your serving them in this capacity. And that's it. He disappears and the memory ends. You are now standing in front of Komi Masashi with documents proving that he's the person who invented this drug, which grants normal people psychic powers. And apparently removes non-psychic ability from magic users.
Yeah, I don't trust his ghost. I don't believe anything he has to say to me. So, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm worried, but I'm not gonna. If there's a fact out there that's in my grasp, that's in my capacity to know, I don't think I'm gonna let it go because a ghost told me not to pursue. So if I recall correctly, there's a bunch of people in this room, right? It's not like just me and Komi Masashi.
Correct. It's the full party.
But it's just us.
Yes. Gallista's out front with the other guard who is standing down, the mercenary guy. The other mercenary's body has been hidden in the woods. No doubt he'll be found by carnivorous wildlife eventually.
Yeah. I think I'll pull Draven aside. And I'll just kind of say, yeah, so apparently this ghost that you saw, he's been messing around in my memory somehow. Anyways, he says that it's vitally important that I not attempt to read Komi Masashi's mind because it would make me unable to do my job. I'm not inclined to take his word for it. I figure there's a third option here, which is that you could do it and either verify that he's right or that he's playing some kind of angle here.
You had said, didn't you say this ghost would not like cause you any problems when you discussed things with him?
He said that he wasn't actively seeking to harm my mission, but that he would not help me with it. Previously, I just uncovered a memory in which he seems to have taken a somewhat softer stance, and that he acknowledges the importance of the mission. But other than that, I don't have any reason to believe he'd assist or be an obstacle in it.
See, have you pulled me aside, or are you saying this in front of them?
Oh no, I pulled you aside. I'm not airing this out to everyone. They don't even. I think some of them don't even know about the ghost.
I'm very fine with having this conversation in front of people. It's funny.
I think it'd be really hilarious if you're having it in front of them, but you're having it psychically, so that you're the only two people having it. You're just basically staring at each other meaningfully for like a solid minute.
Yeah, is that what you meant by pull me aside?
Sure, it can be. I mean, that's a form of pulling someone aside, I guess.
Do you feel a need to actually seek this knowledge? Should we discuss with him to see if he even knows what any of this?
I suspect he doesn't, just based purely on the timelines we're talking about. So yeah, I do agree that reading his mind certainly shouldn't be a first resort. I think there are a bunch of preferable ways to address this. On the other hand, I do also think that the fact that this ghost went out of the way to tell me not to do it means there's something there, and the ghost could have a lot of reasons for not wanting us to know this information. And so, some of them may be in good faith, and some of them may mean that there's something there that we should know. But I'm totally fine with pursuing other options in the meantime and using that only as a last.
While you guys contemplate your options, Nirgui, you actually are the one holding the document that implicates Ikoma Masashi. And Ikoma, you are the one that the document accuses. Do you guys have anything you wish to say or do?
Well, this is definitely indeed strange, and not the first. And as I said before, not the first time this is something like this strange has happened. I was thinking maybe speaking to the spirit speakers about maybe something in my past that I don't know about. I don't know how about this will affect the trial that you're helping with.
Oh, there went
Your
Nirgui.
way he.
Test.
Hey,
There we go.
Yeah, we have a trial coming up. So if you want to speak to the spirit speakers, you should probably do that quickly. We need to decide what to do with this evidence.
Because that is indeed my handwriting.
Never admit it.
From a legal standpoint, this evidence would mean that his testimony about what the drug is and how it was produced becomes basically invalid. You can Leaves on the River will still be freed because her contract is invalid, but you won't be able to nail this guy to the wall for treason in quite the same amount of impact.
Hmm.
In many ways, it comes down to, do you value the truth, or do you value causing as much damage as possible to Takegamis?
I mean, that's a solidly easy question for me to answer.
A better question might be, have you heard of the truth? Are you aware of the definition of the word truth?
Okay, well, so what we need is a copy of this document.
The document does also detail how to convert the drug into the psychic awakening version. Just so you have some implication or some idea of what copying it will involve. And what it might mean for there to be more than one copy. From your previous research, you guys...
How much time do we have?
You're not sure, actually. There are legal proceedings going on right now, but they were mostly trumped up as a distraction to give you guys time to search this place. And since you've very quickly made entrance, really it's only been like 20 minutes since you've arrived at the house.
Given enough time, what I'd like to do is find a forger and then get Tice to make a flawed, potentially dangerous mistake in the copy, and then disseminate that. If I have the time. If not,
Also, I wonder if the lady or the lord of the house ever met the creator of the drug or not.
yeah, we're a foul thing to ask if she's
There
still
are lots
there.
of documents upstairs that you guys could look through. The two attempts to look through them rolled very, very low.
I'm not an investigation master, unfortunately.
I can rock a pretty solid investigation.
Yeah, I think let's.
Yeah, and it would make sense because you haven't actually looked yet, like
Yeah.
others have attempted.
So far, only Nergui and Draven have tried looking through the library. Both of them found some general ideas about like the mental state of the person who was there, but not any specific information.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I'd like to make a stealth roll upstairs.
Okay.
I'm not looking for something specific. I'm looking for where I would hide stuff
Okay.
if it were my room.
You're looking for out of place things that might be secret doors and stuff? Or just hiding
Yeah,
holes?
secret doors, secret panels, places where I would put stuff if I didn't want anybody to find it. I don't have a goddamn. Let me see if I can get it.
Are we awakening the Utherbot for dice rolls?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Cool. Alright then, well, he proceeds upstairs to make that little investigation. And upstairs you find Callista is guarding the door, making sure that Lady Takakamas does not escape. For the rest of you, what would you like to do?
I guess I'd like to kind of sit down with Akomi and just kind of have a conversation with
Ikoma
Hey,
Masashi?
yeah.
You
Yep.
are there?
Yeah.
I'm just say, hey, so Akomi, I take it by now you know what's on the document that we just saw.
Yes, of course. The exact recipe for the focused drug.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that you don't remember why your signature would be up.
It is extremely confusing. At the same time, I've been realizing that when I was testing the drug and stuff, that I was immediately able to identify every piece of it without ever prior knowledge of studying it before.
So perhaps there is some memory there, but it's repressed somehow. I if you're up for it, there we could attempt to psychically look into that and try to learn more. If not, that's fine. We don't need to. Either way, there's a lot of questions unanswered. So, whatever you're up for.
Yes, I'm really curious myself because this was not the first time, as I said before. There was the time I was with the merchants and I had found an old recipe 100 years ago that was also in my hand. Was it also in my handwriting? If I think about it.
No, it was not, but it was very much your recipe. This, on the other hand, is in your handwriting, including all of your weird little shorthand notes that you're pretty sure most people wouldn't be able to figure out what you meant. They were kind of your own short code. You imagine if somebody else was trying to use this, it would have taken them a lot of time and trial and error to figure out what all of your weird little symbols meant.
But yeah, there was a recipe that I have on my person that I found exact copy that was 100 years old.
Interesting. What was it a recipe of?
I think it was just a tea or yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, it was just one of my lavender teas that I have.
Huh, interesting.
I definitely would want to find out the truth of this because if I had created this drug, that it's a sin in my past that I want to make sure that I'm able to make sure that I'm not still hanging on to. You can't be a great adventurer without being able to deal with the stuff of your past.
Sure. And since we've been here, have you received any kind of dreams or visions about any sort of unusual figure that you had previously had dreams or visions of?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because I'm fairly certain, full disclosure here, I'm fairly certain that the Emperor can alter memories over a long distance. In fact, I'm fairly certain that he's done it to me. So it's at least a possibility worth considering, that to whatever extent you may have had memories manipulated or suppressed or anything like that, there's at least one very powerful actor here that we know is capable of doing that. As well as the yeah, and the ghost that's been following me can do the same thing. So
what ghost?
Oh yeah, there's been a ghost following me ever since the hospital. Yeah, I mentioned. I don't think I did mention that to you, did I? No, I mentioned it to Callista and Draven, but yeah, guess I left you in the dark on that. I try not to think about it too much. Although it's been in a cage. It's been in a cage up in my bedroom for like a couple days now.
Also, what were you talking about the Emperor? Isn't the Emperor like in the city in the capital city? Why would he be able to do anything here?
Oh, he's psychic. He's a very powerful psychic.
That's understating it quite a bit, too.
Yeah, from your perspective, that's correct. He's not really a psychic.
But yes, I was planning to go to the spirit speakers because they know about how to deal with the past and stuff before.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a pretty good idea.
Draven, did you have anything you want to do? Anything you wanted to weigh in on?
I'm really just listening to their conversation and on what Heldren's saying because I feel like I have to monitor him at this point.
All right. Meanwhile, upstairs, I think you're ready to make your stealth check. What are you doing with it?
I went ahead and made that. So I'm doing it with cunning.
Did you make it in session?
Yes.
Oh, I just had not scrolled to the bottom. There we go. Oh, with cunning, eh? Okay. All right, so you have found a few things. You already knew about the secret cabinet where he kept his booze. That's not a mystery. But while looking about, you have noticed several books on the bookshelves that show the typical signs of being secret door levers. Unusual amounts of dust or not dust. Books that look like they've been moved recently, that sort of thing. None of them turn out to actually be levers to open secret cabinets, but there is quite an interesting pattern. The books that have the least amount of dust, meaning handled most recently, and very recently, as in like probably today, are books about warfare, which are located in his wife's office, and books about alchemy, which are located in his office. And all of these books appear to be of the matching sizes. For every book of a certain size about warfare in her office, there's a matching book of the same size about alchemy in his. Broadly, the implication is that it looks like she has done something to set the scene to make him look like more of an actor in this than he actually was.
Interesting.
Or at the very least, to hide her involvement entirely.
Cool. I'm gonna go talk to her.
Alright, she is locked up in her room, and Callista is guarding the door. She happily lets you in. Her smile is all daggers. Lady Kakigama's is sitting in the room continuing to write the letter to her sister, in which she is extolling how horribly she has been treated by her husband and how she wants to return home.
Okay.
She does note you coming in. She sort of says, "Are we ready to leave?"
I shut the door behind me carefully, like I'm checking to make sure no one's nearby. I'm doing this. I'm doing this in a way that's subtly apparent, but that I'm not attempting to. I'm not trying to show my hand, But I'm, But
Obviously, Callista is nearby, but she doesn't really look the part of an intellectual anyway.
Is she still in the room?
Not in the room. She's outside the room. She is there to prevent the Lady Takikamas from escaping.
Gotcha. So I shut the door quietly, move close and say, I'm just here to check on you and see see how you're doing, making sure that you're.
Well, aren't you a dear? She says. She's
I
all felt.
put a slip
smiles.
of paper. I put a slip of paper on the table in front of her, just kind of like, obviously, but nonchalantly, and it says, I'm a friend of the cause.
A friend of what?
I'm a friend of the cause. I don't know what cause yet, but I've got 2 personalities left to fill out, so it's all right. I'll figure it out.
All right. She sort of notes it, and she has a stack of papers of her own as she was in the process of writing a letter. So she takes one out, and while she's commenting on what a dear you are to be looking after her in these harsh times, and how she hopes justice will happen to her villainous husband, she writes, "Can you get me out of here?"
I say, your husband is certainly a vile man. I'm not sure if he'll, but we can try. And then I scribble down. Basically, I just say where is safe.
While she's thanking you for doing your best and commending your honor and duty to the Emperor, she writes down, we have agents hidden in the woods north of here. I can contact them at any moment, she says, or she writes. It occurs to you that if you can prevent her from destroying these notes, she's just created a trail of evidence.
I look confused for a moment, and then say, and then write down, those are not my agents. Perhaps we're not for the same cause, but are kindred spirits. And I draw a symbol of the symbol of an orchid.
Oh, okay. This is the supposedly deceased criminal organization.
Yep.
Yeah. So she raises an eyebrow at that, and so yeah, she's a little cautious and says, you know, if we're not leaving at the moment, I should rest a moment. But if there's anything I can get you from the pantry, or I'm being selfish, I would like a glass of wine from the pantry. She writes down while she's saying this. So my agents, not yours. But her hand is kind of trembling with the idea that you might be an actual member of the Orchids. You're going to go ahead and need to make some kind of bluff here. I'm not sure exactly what you need to roll.
Okay. I mean, I'm ready to do. So if she doubts me, I've got Cult of Personalities. I've got Feint, and I'm prepared to roll an empathy performance if I need to.
You sense a mix of doubt and sort of excitement. It's like she wants it to be true. There is an implication in that, which is that she may be part of a criminal organization herself, and thus has knowledge of what the Orchids were that a layperson may not have. But exactly which criminal organization is not immediately apparent. She has not revealed anything like that. She has only said that she has agents nearby to the north and that she can contact them at a moment's notice.
Okay.
But she has asked you to get her some wine from the pantry.
I head over towards the pantry. Is there anything amiss about the wine in the pantry? I'm also keeping her in my peripheral vision at all.
Well, the pantry is on the bottom floor. You've been down there, and you've seen that the things that are amiss are the there's the alchemy lab down there.
Got it.
She has no idea you found it already.
Okay, good. I look at her and I say, I kind of pretend that I heard something outside that she can't hear because I'm better than she is at this. And then I say, we know what's in the pantry. What do you want down there?
Are you just saying it, or are you writing it down?
I'm saying it. Yeah.
Oh.
And then I nod towards the door, and make a little hand motion like someone.
Are you trying to convince her it's safe to talk, or are you trying to intimidate her?
I'm trying to convince her that we need to talk in code because someone's listening to us.
Okay.
That we're hot. Basically, I'm trying to be hostile. We're not friends. Basically, it's been too quiet in here for too long.
All right. So she says it's what my husband does is none of my affair. Sort of taking a defensive stance, but at the same time, she's writing down, perhaps we can make a deal. I can offer you knowledge in trade. You get the feeling she's going to try and sell you the recipe to the drug.
I scratch my chin for a second, and I take all of the papers that we've been communicating on off of the desk, and I go over, basically start. Well, no, I leave them on the desk. But I take the ones with the. I take the one with the orchid on it off the table and kind of look at it, and then I say, Perhaps you can serve justice, I say. Perhaps you will be useful towards the path of justice and righteousness. If you would be willing to assist, I know that my organization would be more than happy to accept your assistance.
She says, I'm always happy to serve the Emperor's justice.
Indeed, I say. I thank you for your cooperation. I will get you that wine. And then on my way out, I say, I look at Callista and say, watch her. She's a cunning one. And then I say it loud enough so she can hear me. And then go downstairs. I go downstairs and start looking around the wine stuff. I want to ask, people are still down in the lab.
Yeah, they're having a little discussion.
I say, check all the wine bottles, just in case. Let's be sure they're storing wine in those bottles.
How many of you are going to search the wine?
The wife is implicated. She's more important than the husband. She's throwing him under the bus right now, as far as I can tell. Throwing him under the cart.
I will help.
At this point, she's throwing him under a goddamn caravan.
Since I have a keen nose and taste, or a keen nose at least, which would help.
Oh yeah, you do, don't you? So you rapidly identify that about a quarter of the wine down here is not wine at all. It's just water with red berries that has watertight packets inside it. And these packets, when extracted from the barrels, have drugs in them of varying grades. There are some bottles as well that have drugs packaged inside them. Now, one of the things that you are picking up is that not all of this is the same drugs. It looks like there's lots of like experimental variations going on. And also some stuff that you, Tice, just immediately recognize as bad batches that won't work.
She's a master alchemist. She also is a member of an organization that I am not sure about just yet.
But yeah, I will separate the bad batches to the side. and just like tell him, yeah, these are the bad batches. These will definitely be bad for whoever takes these.
You do identify there are some good batches that were hidden here and not sent for delivery to the drug cartel. So she's definitely kept a private stash. If she's been using it, or allowing other people to use it, or experimenting on people with it, there may have been a lot of psychic activity going on up here, which could, in untrained hands, result in things like memories being swapped around, which could go a long way to explaining why Leaves on the River remembers a pregnancy that there is no sign actually happens to her body.
Well, this is too weird for me. I think I might just go infiltrate a criminal organization. So far, I've proven to her that I am a member of a much more dangerous criminal organization, and so she's indebted to me in some weird way.
At the moment, the only people that have not examined the upstairs are Heldren and Ikoma. Did you guys want to?
Yes. I definitely do.
The upstairs consists primarily of 3 rooms, the master bedroom and 2 offices. Lady Ikoma's office and the incredibly criminally implicated Lady Takikamis's office and Lord Takikamis's office. Lord Takikamis's being incredibly criminally implicated at the moment.
I think I'd rather investigate hers, but that would probably require making her be somewhere else.
She's locked up in the bedroom, so you have no worries whatsoever.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to investigate her office closely. Would there be a difference between using focus or cunning?
Yes.
Basically, focus would uncover more, but take longer to do, right?
And focus will uncover, like, high focus rolls are going to cover lots of raw information, whereas a cunning roll might reveal things like why things are being done. It might reveal more of the underpinning reasonings behind the way things are.
Okay, I'll go with the cunning roll. And would my truth seeker trait apply here?
100%. 100%.
And how does that apply? A threshold bonus?
Correct. All right. So going through her her things, of course, a lot of her books have been, as your companion discovered, have been swapped with books from her husband's office, so as to make him look more like the alchemist. And so it takes a little bit of piecing together to figure out what her organizational system was. But you do eventually work out that there are certain books which should be in certain places that, if you can find their copies in his office, would be the ledgers indicating her experiments and experimental results. Going back into the office and finding those books, you come up with information about exactly kind of what was going on in that time period after the 20 years ago incident. It seems like up to that point, the records were not in her handwriting, and they were getting really good results and under perfect conditions. And about 20 years ago, suddenly the results all went to shit. The handwriting switched to her handwriting, and they started basically almost from scratch doing experiments on the servants, tying them down in the basement, feeding them the drug, and finding out what psychic stuff they had. just from observation. Basically letting them loose to just do psychic things to each other and to the household in general. Because as somebody who is psychic, you're pretty sure that like these sort of like first year experiences would have just been flailing about randomly, going into each other's memories, messing about with things, but with no real sense of what they were doing, no control. You then find that later, maybe like a couple years ago, she starts getting results where things are a little more controlled. But this is basically from the people that were undergoing it multiple times. We're getting plenty of practice in. And then a lot of the names shift. She's not using the same test subjects anymore. She does seem to have her own name listed as a test subject, indicating she has used the drug and has had some psychic experiences herself. And yeah, that's what you get from that. So she's now at a point where she can make the drug in small batches, and she has some idea of how it works now and what it does. And has apparently had that for about 2 years. There is no indication whatsoever that she has any idea what it does to spirit speakers. None of her test subjects were spirit speakers. They were all just regular servants that they forced to take the drug and then tied to beds in the basement.
Interesting. All right, well, that's some useful information.
Ikoma, you wanted to leave the building and head to the spirit speakers?
Hidden
Yes.
stuff.
Okay. Unless any of your party members tries to stop you, you will begin proceeding down the mountain. And it seems like they're not. So, yeah. Draven, did you have anything you wanted to do?
I was keeping an eye on these two. Based on that, I'll probably just I'm not needed anymore here, so I'll go with I'll follow.
You're gonna follow Ikoma?
Yeah.
Okay. So you start heading down the mountain. Heldrin, you are finishing with the books when you feel a new psychic presence light up into the universe. It is coming from the master bedroom.
Is it Lady Takakama?
Seems that way, and she is nowhere near as skilled or practiced as you are. Having done this your entire life, watching somebody basically pick it up at her level is almost painful in how clumsy she is with it. But she does manage to pulse a signal in a generally northward direction, and you sense 3 faint psychic entities light up in that direction.
Can I try to? Is there any way I could like block the signal?
You could
If
try
I'm sensing-
to muddle it, maybe.
Okay.
It's not a precise laser beam signal. This is just like a blast wave of energy. It's so clumsy, it's almost hilarious.
Yeah, I would like to just like kind of try to like, redirect it if possible. Basically, just I assume it's if she's sending out a signal, I assume she's deliberately sending it in some direction for some cause that is likely not in our interest. So I'd just like to stop it from getting there.
Yeah. I mean, it can be assumed she has some purpose to it, but whatever she's doing, it's she's really bad at it.
Cool. All right, well, I'd like to shut that shit down then. So do I just roll my psychic? Or do I roll my potential?
Your potential, yeah. Wow. All right, yeah, no, you won by a margin of 4 there, so you get to decide what happens.
I want to just completely fry out her psychic capacity if possible. To whatever extent I can. I want to make it like physically painful for her to attempt to do anything psychic.
All right. Well, she was not ready for that, so she takes 4 composure damage.
All right, then I want to go walk into the room.
All right. Gallista sees you coming. She, of course, is not psychic, so has no idea what just went down. But she happily stands aside to let you in.
Yeah, I'll just kind of just poke at her with my sword because I assume she's lying on the ground.
She's lying on the ground. There's like a little trickle of blood coming out of her nose.
I'll say, you try that again. You try that again, you'll realize you got off easy this time.
You also find that there's a bag of the drug that she has basically emptied. She's taken it. She's may have mixed it with a little bit of water and drunk it. She may have just stuffed it in her mouth and tried to swallow it. But whatever method she used, the bag now only has a tiny amount of dust in it. It's basically consumed.
Okay, I'm gonna open the door and I'm gonna explain to Gallista. So she just tried to smuggle contraband in an attempt to either escape or bring comrades to her. So I'd like you to keep a very close eye on what she attempts to consume, and make sure that there are no drugs that she's attempting to consume. And if she tries, I think we'll all understand if you feel the need to stop her with not quite extreme prejudice. You can't kill her, but whatever prejudice short of that is deemed necessary.
She rotates her spear so the blunt end is facing Lady Takakamis. In so doing, she delights in how it scratches and damages the wall. And, yeah, just smiles wickedly at her and advances into the room. So no more privacy. She's not locked in by herself.
Yeah, and I'm gonna lean back in. I'm gonna say, seriously, I'm not fucking around with you here, lady. you got lucky.
And that's effectively nullified the attack with the 3 incompetent psychic soldiers that was going to come at you. So they're still off in the north somewhere, but they didn't get her message.
And unfortunately, I don't think, since they didn't get the message, I assume I wouldn't have received any response. So I don't even know they're there. So.
So the question then is, this fundamental question that I'm trying to answer myself right now is, do I actually care about this person and her insidious plot to overthrow the empire? And I think the answer is fundamentally no. I don't really give a shit at all. Okay, I mean, I go down to the basement, I pour 2 glasses of wine, I dose one with a crap load of that poison, and I bring it back upstairs.
Okay.
And I say, I go into the room, I see Gallista holding a blunt spear at her, and I say, thank you, Gallista, I'll take it from here. I'll let you know if I need you. I need to have a conversation with the lady.
Callista explains, no. My bard told me to make sure she doesn't take any drugs. There'll be no taking of drugs.
I'm here to make sure I can make sure of that as well.
She looks at the wine and says, might be drugs in that wine. Not gonna have it.
I smile and say, "You are very cautious, extremely cautious, in fact."
I'm allowed to hit her if she tries to take drugs. She's smiling at that. She's just really excited about the prospect of hitting her.
I sip some of my wine. And I put the other glass down on the table. And I say, I look at her and I say, your testimony is most welcome. We will certainly do the Emperor justice with such testimony.
She's a little beaten up mentally right now, so she's not down for subtlety, but she just sort of growls and says, "I don't know what game you're playing, but you've got me." And she sort of gives up and collapses. Like she just got her ass handed to her in a psychic combat in a way that she was not ready for.
Okay, well, as she's passing out, I just kind of like lean down next to her and whisper in her ear and say, understand there can be no loose ends. If she does survive this, I want her to be scared shitless of me.
Yeah, she's not going to have pleasant dreams right now. That is a sufficiently terrifying message for somebody in her position.
All right, so I take all of the I take the poisoned wine away before Callista drinks it, and I pour them out, and then say, "Okay, I think we have a general story." So I collect some of the notes and things like that from the wife, and I say the wife was in on it. She's implicated herself in her correspondence with a mysterious individual. You said yourself that you heard her bleeding out to someone using mental powers. That's it's definitely a pretty serious criminal organization going on there. So that'll need to be rooted out.
Yeah, I'll say. In fact, she's been running the drug experiments for the last 20 years.
Okay. And do we think her husband's at fault or not, or is he just a?
I believe he's probably not as much at fault as we were previously led to believe, but prior to 20 years ago, there was somebody else overseeing the tests. A different person who was getting better results. That might have been him. The timeline would add up that perhaps after he was disgraced, that he was no longer able to run these trials. There were still some pretty sadistic experiments going on in his mansion. I'm not sure. I didn't see any evidence that they know that the drug interferes with psychic abilities, which might hurt this as a treasonous act against the Empire. That certainly doesn't help that case, but absence of evidence isn't evidence absence or whatever that is.
I pick up a sheaf of parchment that has her handwriting, discussing with someone who you don't know recognize their handwriting, and it has like a a small flower drawn on it, and I say, I don't think treason's going to be a problem.
All right, cool.
Just a moment, gentlemen. Okay, I'm back. I just needed to be informed that there was more soda. Caffeine
Sure.
makes the GM keep running.
Yeah, so I just I say I think we have all the evidence that we need. I think we should probably not turn over the actual recipe. They don't need to know that. We have enough evidence to show that they were manufacturing it.
And so you guys want to take her into custody and head back to the courthouse?
Yeah, can you tell how old the recipe is?
Her records indicate she's had it for more than 20 years, but she's only been the
Yeah.
one operating it for the past 20. So the recipe is older than that.
But if I hand the recipe and the writing of one of my colleagues over to the justice and say he's helpfully written up the recipe or helpfully reverse engineered the recipe for this for you,
Oh, then, yeah, they wouldn't really have a good forensic way to identify. I mean, it's old parchment, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Sure. Okay, that's what I'm going to do then. That's the plan. I'll hand over everything, and then the last thing I hand over is the recipe, and I say that our master alchemist has actually managed to reverse engineer based on investigation of the alchemical apparatus and the ingredients that were found in the lab. He's reverse engineered the process. Additionally, there's a whole bunch of really kind of weird experimentation that's been going on in that house for at least 2 decades.
All of which potentially ties back to blocking psychic powers.
So you guys begin
so
processing towards the courthouse and do so unmolested. I had totally planned there to be an ambush, but you stopped the signal. Meanwhile, then, the guys who left earliest, you guys arrived back at the Spirit Speaker's place after a couple hours of tromping through the woods. And they greet you. They're really happy to see you. Apparently, there's been some big things that have happened while you guys were away. The first is that Leaves on the River is here, but Sinlan is guarding her quite fiercely, and has a pair of human skulls that are dripping with blood, one in each hand.
Like freshly excavated skulls?
Yes, like freshly ripped out of the person skulls. The story that you get for the two of you that are there, which would be Draven and Ikoma Masashi, the story that you get is that Leaves on the River's presence was requested at the courthouse for testimony, and in transit to the courthouse, she was attacked by a pair of people whose corpses are currently being examined by the coroner over near the courthouse, but they have been unable to convince him to relinquish their skulls, which he is still clutching in his hands. They got the rest of the bodies away from him, but not the skulls.
All right.
Just aside, I went to the bathroom and got water, and I already lost my. So yours isn't the only deviant.
Yes. I don't know if you caught that. But yeah, the Sinlan has the skulls of two people that tried to attack
Yes.
Leaves in the River.
I love this guy so much.
Yeah, and he's refusing to let go of them right now. He's holding them like they're going to be the bludgeoning weapons he uses to kill a third attacker that hasn't come yet. He wants to kill a man with his two friends' skulls. That's what he wants to do right now.
I see.
Well, this is a gruesome sight.
You're not there yet.
Okay, so it's just Akoma and I, right?
Yeah.
I'll address Senlan and ask him what happened.
Callista was right. Two men came, tried to kill her. I took care of it.
Yeah, you really got inside their heads.
The Spirit Speakers have more news, though, because that's not the only thing that happened. They've also been in contact with the Spirit Speakers in the province to the south, the Hypo province, where Lord Hypo has gone missing. They managed to break into his chambers in the palace to find his family slaughtered, apparently by his own hand, his wife and his 3 children all dead. He's missing. They have no idea where he is, but also most of his weapons and artifacts are missing with him. The only thing he left behind is he left behind all of the collection of bottles that he had from his old traveling companion, the alchemist. These bottles are shattered. He's apparently tried to break all of them, but for Spirit Speakers, that's kind of irrelevant. They can still do item identification off of them. So they did to try and find out what happened. They've only been able to confirm 2 things, one of which is kind of expected. It was definitely Lord Hypo that was committing violence, and what they describe in their examinations of the residue on the bottles as a blind rage. Just pure panic, and he's just gone nuts. But the other thing they've identified is one of the reasons these bottles were so important, you may recall, was that the head Spirit Speaker at the time, who was one of his traveling companions, wanted to use them to try to contact the spirit of the alchemist, who had traveled with them. And he had refused. He said it was disrespectful to their fallen friend. But now that the Spirit Speakers have possession of them, they made an attempt. And from what they can tell, the alchemist is not dead. There is no spirit attached to them, and the alchemist is still alive.
Wait, the alchemist.
The 4th traveling companion of Lord Hypo, and the now Lord of the Jaipur province, who was not a lord at the time, as well as...
How old is Akomi Masashi?
He is currently 28, about.
Oh, okay.
That he knows of.
Well, that is definitely interesting news. I have come to seek the Spirit Speakers for some guidance.
Okay. Yeah, the Spirit Speakers are at your disposal currently.
There's certain things in my past that that were possibly from my past that I do not remember, and I need help. Since you're good with dealing with the past, be able to help me either remember them or help me or search them yourself.
Okay. Well, what would you like us to help you with? Since you're not dead, we don't have a great deal of power over you, but our power is over entropy, and we're very aware of things. Is there something we can do to help?
Well, I have a solution to that problem. If you say you're closer to someone that is dead, you can help see parts of them, right?
Yes.
I could probably concoct an alchemist thing that will put me into a coma, which is closest to death as I can be without actually dying, and you might be able to access it easier.
We've never attempted such a thing. Okay. Bear in mind, it won't be good enough for you to just go to sleep. Even if really deep sleep, you're still alive. You will have to cross the threshold into death and somehow resuscitate yourself. Potions of resurrection have been a goal of alchemists for millennia. If you can pull it off, if you can die and then resurrect yourself, then while you are dead, we can acquire much information.
Well, I believe I can do anything as long as I have my bard beside me.
That's a Faythen'oc answer right there.
Guess I'm gonna think of ways to tell Hildren that our alchemist.
Okay. While he's brewing his potion, did you want to do anything to help him out? Or do you want to study your book?
Yeah, probably that. I don't. I'm not the inspiring type. And I don't know. I'm not super concerned about him failing. That sounds terrible. Meta, I care. But yeah, I can work on the book or work on the. I guess there's still more to find from that tablet, or I don't actually know. I don't remember what object you gave me, Heldren.
So you have a sketching of what the... Yeah.
I just assumed it was on a piece of slab, like stone. Just because he's like a stone carver.
That
It
is
could
his
just
style.
be. It could just be a parchment.
It could be an etching on a metal plate. He has the raw material to weave it out of mithril fibers.
I could. I don't think that's how they intended me to use it, but I could.
For the potion making, will smelling and tasting help?
Yes. So you're attempting to make a potion that has a supernatural ability that is considered level 10. It's straight up resurrect, right? Or is resurrect a 9? What circle is resurrection? I mean, from the outset, it looks pretty low level. It's single target, touch, right? It gets all the easy ones, but then what it's actually doing is undoing a character deletion.
Looks like it's ninth circle.
Yeah, I think. Of course, if we're using Dungeons and Dragons, 9th is the max, whereas here on Talus we have 10 circles. I guess Dungeons and Dragons have 10 circle stuff if you consider the Dark Sun books, right? Alright, yeah, so I'll say what we're going for here is a 9th circle supernatural effect. So you need enough successes to push the potion up to quality 9, and then 9 more successes on top of that in order to give it the level 9 property that the quality 9 will support.
So I need to go first procure ingredients to
Yes,
support
yes you do.
this.
So it might be time for a shopping trip.
Indeed.
Go ahead and make a resources check, plus whatever cool stuff you add to that. I know you have some fancy things.
Yeah, quality ingredients.
Yep. Meanwhile, Draven, did you make your check to study the tablet?
Well, I can't remember what I was rolling before.
I believe you were rolling scholarship plus...
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus cunning or something? Or maybe it was scholarship plus focus. I don't remember.
Well, it was definitely scholarship, and then it was cunning to figure out more about the person that wrote it, right? And it was focused to figure out more information from it, or
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
to
exact.
read the message. Yeah. God damn, Tice. Okay. So you have acquired 8 points of quality ingredients.
+1, so 9 quality.
Yeah, plus 1 from your trait, or your talent there. And at this point, I think you are being thorough, Draven. So you can probably add that threshold bonus.
Yeah, I figured with that many, how many times I've done.
Yeah, now that you're
Not to mention I'm doing it by myself still.
Will this ingredients give me per pips or yeah, it's pips, right?
Let's see. With alchemy, how does that work, Ed?
I need 3 things.
Yes. Ah, okay. So you have
I rolled
decoded the next layer.
focus for this.
So which layers have you uncovered so far? You've uncovered the layer that says that the people must be convinced that the Emperor built this reservoir.
Yeah,
Underneath that, you unlock the layer that says the reservoir was built to contain a psychic demon. Is that as far as you've gotten?
And then we got the signature from the cloak and shield was the last.
Oh, yeah, that's something you incidentally uncovered without actually getting to the third layer. So the third layer says, the demon is to be kept here for use as a test subject. And there is one layer underneath that.
Okay.
All right, meanwhile, at the courthouse, the rest of you arrive. This is a different location, but you've arrived at the courthouse to deliver the prisoner. There's a couple things that happen immediately upon arrival. The first is that Heldren, you're greeted by the Lord of the Province, who issues an apology, and he says, I've received a direct communication from the Emperor himself. He has instructed me that you are not a danger to my city as I had feared, and that I am to allow you access to the palace once more. I apologize for my rudeness earlier.
So, there's nothing to apologize for. I understand. Did the Emperor give any indication of why he'd interceded on my behalf?
He did not, but he does not need to. I know from experience that he is incredibly wise in these matters. I trust his judgment in this, and if he says that you are not a threat to my city, then I will believe that fully.
Well, all right. Cool. Sounds good.
You may suspect that this has something to do with when the Emperor visited you in your dreams.
Yeah, I mean, he looked into my memories. I assume he saw something that made him want be okay with me being back here. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, you get the indication that he could examine any memory he wanted to, and that wasn't really the point of that. The point of that was to give you an opportunity to choose a memory to show him, and he judged you based on which memory you chose.
Interesting.
The captain of his guard then takes the Lady Takakamas into custody. This is a big man. This is a large man shaped like the keystone to an archway, broad of shoulder, and thick as stone. And he proceeds to take her off to a holding cell in the little area of holding cells next to the courthouse adjacent. He even has a name. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Guard Captain Beat Growing from a Brick is his name. His fellow guardsmen affectionately call him the Beatdown. Doesn't seem like the brightest lad, but you're pretty sure that she is not going to be able to escape his grasp. The lawyer is also present, happily taking the evidence as you provided, and saying there's been some interesting developments. Moon in the Rain came in, surrendered of his own volition, and immediately flipped and turned evidence against Lord Takikamas. Then Lord Takikamas accused his lawyer of sleeping with his wife, and the lawyer has abandoned both of them. Recused himself, he said, quite politely, but basically we got the message that all three of these are just tied up in some massive nonsense. I've given up the idea that one of them is the boss of the others. I think that they entered into some kind of collaborative conspiracy, and now that things are going badly, they are turning on each other like rats in a sinking ship.
I have much evidence to provide. We found an alchemy lab in the basement in his winery, as well as large amounts of failed batches and other kinds of attempts at experimentation. Also in the winery, hidden in wine bottles. We found good evidence that the wife was also in on this, and that she was communicating with someone, potentially communicating with them with magic. One of my agents has some skill in that regard, and said that he sensed that she had a number of people in some sort of an organization waiting to free her in the woods north of their estate. We didn't encounter any of them, thankfully. I would like to put in some commendations for the mercenary company that was assigned, was hired. They hired to deal with their house. They stepped aside admirably when I announced the Emperor's business, and they should all be commended.
I shall see to
it. We also found some batches of existing materials, and through reverse engineering and looking through the alchemical equipment on display, as well as some of the failed batches. Our master alchemist, who is working for me as deputy, was able to reverse engineer the formula and scrawl it down on a piece of parchment we found in the laboratory, and I hand that over to her. It's like, this may be useful for potentially making an antidote. I kind of like put my hands to the side and just say, I'm no alchemist, so this makes no sense to me. But maybe someone in the Imperial throne can make more sense of it than I can.
She looks at the old parchment and says, I wish you'd found newer paper to write it on, but I understand you were in a rush.
Indeed. Also, I found information of correspondence that she had been sending back and forth, communicating with someone who we believe escaped through the window as we arrived. I don't really know what they were talking about. Something about making a deal and getting to a safe house. There's a symbol on it that I don't recognize, and I hand her the correspondence that her and I...
Without batting an eye, although if you could track the movement of her eye across the page, it does linger on the orchid for a moment. But she says, thank you. This is beginning to make a lot of sense now. We had an attack earlier when transporting leaves on the river to her deposition, and that attack, the two men who tried to either kill her or kidnap her, we can't tell which, they were able to disarm and disable her guards at range without any apparent weapons. Perhaps some of this magic you were speaking of. Of course, they then confronted your Faythen'oc friend who seemed immune to their attempts, and he is yet to relinquish their skulls, which we don't specifically need, but would very much like to have for the sake of completeness in our forensics reports, and also to not have a pair of dripping skulls following her around.
They are a different culture, I say. I just shrug.
Also, I feel that he has earned the skulls. Assuming I'm there, I might not be.
You are, actually. This is the place you're in. So
But yeah, I think they're his skulls now.
She says, the Emperor's law sees it differently, but I'm willing to focus on more important matters at the moment. And perhaps indefinitely.
Are you seeking to learn something from the skulls?
Well, we were going to give them over to the spirit speakers, but they've been studying the ribs and have basically gotten no real useful information from these guys. It seems even in death, they're keeping tight hold of their secrets.
I'll say, perhaps I can convince Fenelon to let the spirit speakers examine their skulls, if you think it may yield useful information.
As I'm not a spirit speaker, I have only their expertise to go on, but they have requested use of the skulls. And I understand he's in the building with them, so he really just needs to put them down on the ground for a little bit.
We may be able to convince him of that, but I think I think in his culture, he believes that he's earned the skulls. And as they say, if a frog brings you good fortune, you shouldn't chastise it for eating flies.
She smiles at the aphorisms. Well said, well said. In any case, I believe that you guys have lived up to the promises that you made, and the chariot will be made available to you shortly. We're just going to figure out exactly who we're charging with what, and then, yeah, any crimes that are of treason are going to be shipped probably along with you in the same cart to face justice at the Imperial capital. Local crimes will be dealt with here. It seems to me that the local crime lord, Moon in the Rain, was only committing local crimes, and that can be handled here. Either Takekamas or his wife may have to answer for something more dramatic. We shall see what her testimony is. And the lawyer, I'm not sure what to do with this guy. He's clearly in on it, but he's the only one I can't implicate. Perhaps, I mean, there's an accusation of infidelity, but that's not really going to hold the kind of weight I want. As at this time that some guards run over to Lord of Jaipur, and panting out of breath, they say, "She's escaped. She bribed the beatdown, and she's run off into the woods."
You're talking about Lady Takamas?
Out of breath, Miss. Yeah, she offered him a bribe. He said it was illegal, and he'd have to arrest her for making the bribe. But then she said that she couldn't make the bribe if he didn't accept it. So he accepted the bribe to arrest her for making it, but then she ran off. So he's chasing her. We came here to tell you. The Lord of Jaipur is just laughing at this point. Says, she's screwed. He'll catch her.
She has some magical skill, remember. And so do her associates.
That may be of some concern then. He's looking around for somebody to mount on a cat and go after them. He's instinctively looking for his own men, but you guys are there. Well, two of you are. Maybe the others. I mean, Tice is on a shopping trip through the market.
We could send Gallista.
Oh, Gallista smiles at the opportunity.
I'll say, would you be all... How against it would you be if she wound up dead?
They give the sort of diplomatic answer of, it is not our role to execute a prisoner until they have been sentenced.
Okay. Then I will... How about I advise her not to... But make no promises.
Gallista's sort of grumbling. It's like, you never let me kill anything.
So, hey, it's not my call.
Someone just got to kill two guys. Why don't I get to kill a villain?
I'd say, look, by all means. I mean, I'm the one that warned her not to try any funny business. And with that in mind, I'd like to kind of reach out psychically and see if... I assume she's probably frantically sending out psychic signals to try to locate some help.
Yeah, and as stealthy as she might think she's being by hiding in the woods, the fact that she's present on the field of astral energy means that you have a bead on her exact location.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say, look, I know exactly where she is. I can lead you guys directly to her.
All right. So the Lord provides you with a cat. That's a riding cat, which you have never ridden before.
No.
And one to Gallista as well. The cat stables are an interesting place. The Lord's wife is actually there, helping one of the cats deliver kittens. His son, Visam, is currently cuddled up to a cat that's about the same size as it. It's a very young kitten, and they appear to be bonding. She looks up from the sort of the mess of dealing with the pregnancy. She has that sort of air about her of somebody who knows that her current political station means she does not need to give a fuck about, like, anything except what she wants to do. And right now what she wants to do is take care of animals.
Cool. Good for her.
So, upon your cats, you are mounted. I think... Yeah, Ed, did you want to go with them? This seems like a combat thing, but it's up to you.
I shrug and say, I would assist, but I can't run in these robes.
All right. So up on the cats you mount and ride off.
I'll say, hey, when Callista's done, I doubt she'll be able to run either.
I could ride a cat. It would be a new thing. I've never ridden a cat before.
Neither have I. It's a great adventure.
They bring out the biggest cat for Callista, and you still see it strain under her weight. But she is holding the reins with the confidence of somebody who's done this 1,000 times, even though you know for a fact she's never done it once.
I'll say, Callista, after this day, the legends will tell that you are the greatest cat rider they have ever seen.
And with those words, you see the cat's muscles bulge and strengthen under her, and it rises to actually lift her bulk to the point where her legs finally come up off the ground. And yeah, she springs into action without even really knowing the direction yet. The two of you get on your cats. You're going to be making some taming checks here to see how well you ride.
What would taming be paired with?
Very often it is paired with empathy. I'm excited to hear
Excellent.
any other ideas you might have.
I want to pair with empathy, and I'm hoping to be able to apply my psychic gift to it as if there's like some weird kind of psychic taming going.
You want to enter the mind of a cat?
Just enough to kind of calm its mind a little bit. You know, soothe the mind, not really enter it and fuck around.
You make contact with the cat's mind and hear the Meow Mix theme song playing on repeat.
Yeah, like I want to kill something, gonna kill something and eat it. Gonna go find a dark place to lie down, then I'm gonna kill something.
You have a strange desire to play with yarn yourself.
You only want to be pet like 3 times on the chest. Anymore is like bad touch.
Thank God for those pips.
All right, so you're able to keep up with like behind Glista just long enough to see her and keep your powers going to keep her enhanced. And then you lose her in the trees, but you're pretty sure you've got her headed in the right direction. Ed, did you want to make your taming roll as well?
My taming roll?
Were you going to ride a cat?
No, I think I'm going to stay behind.
Oh, okay.
And boom, there's my taming roll. I think I might get to roll 1 die. So yeah, no. I'm not going to roll 1 die, try to get on a tiger. It's just not going to happen.
Fair enough. Eventually, you come to a scene at a waterfall where Callista and this other guard captain have Lady Takikamis tied up at the top of the waterfall. One has her arms, the other has her legs, and they're just heaving her over the side of the waterfall.
Huh.
Their cats are tied up to trees. Afterwards, they walk down to the bottom of the waterfall, observe that she is, in fact, dead, and collect her body to come back up.
Huh. So, do I recognize this guard captain?
Yeah, it's the guy that you had originally handed her over to when you arrived.
Oh, okay.
He looks like he's Gallista's type. They're both built like.
Yeah, it's like the Smasher guy. What's his name?
His name is Beat Growing from a Brick.
Yeah.
And he looks like that should be his name.
I'll say, in hindsight, if we wanted to bring her back alive, maybe these weren't the people to send. And I'll just kind of shrug and let them go about their business.
Well, they tell quite a tale as they wrap her corpse in a netting. It says, From what you can tell, they chased her to this waterfall, and then she jumped off the waterfall. And so they went down to the bottom to see if she had survived, to confirm that she had committed suicide off the waterfall. And she hadn't. She had gotten caught in a net that you're pretty sure she had left there at some previous endeavor, or somebody had left there specifically to fake a suicide and get caught in the net safely. But they viewed it as some fool fisherman left a net out here, and it ruined her suicide. And since they both had seen wonderful plays where a person, typically a villain, at the end of their ropes, tries to commit suicide jumping off a waterfall, it wouldn't do to have it be ruined by a careless fisherman. So they gathered up the net, took her back up to the top, and threw her off again, and went back down and found that it had broken most of her bones, but it seems to be a defective waterfall. So they took her back up a third time and threw her off a third time, and that time's the one you saw that killed her.
So good. You gave her a good death.
You can imagine her screaming the whole time that she wasn't really trying to commit suicide, and they just didn't believe her because they'd seen the play. They know how this goes.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you fixed her mistake. I'm sure she would thank you if yeah. And then I would like to psychically, is there any part of her that's still alive that I can psychically reach out? Oh, okay. I mean, I was just going to dunk on her a little more, so that's fine.
Well, here's the great thing, is her trial isn't over yet. The spirit speakers are going to summon her ghost and put her ghost on trial.
Yeah, cool. Say, well, I guess we better bring her body back so her trial can proceed. But yeah, good work. Good work. Nice try.
And so they ride back.
Good hustle, guys. Good hustle. Yeah,
you really took matters into your own hands. You showed some initiative. I like that.
Honestly, I'm not sure if you would have stopped her had you rolled high enough to keep up with her. But yeah,
I would have found that hilarious, and I would have. The only difference would have been I would have gloated the entire time.
All right, and so the trials proceed fairly well while Ikomi gets his stuff ready. And he does request, I think, your presence, Miles.
Yes, I require Eldrin's presence.
Okay.
I'm
Cool.
going to be undergoing some alchemy, and I need a really good prep talk because this is going to be something to help uncover my past, and I need the biggest prep talk of my life.
All right. I'll say so. I'm to understand that you're essentially slightly killing yourself in order to discover the truth about the quest that we're.
I want to know the truth of myself, and this is the best way for the spirit speakers to find out about myself.
So this is about knowing yourself. So yeah, I can help you. I'm just gonna launch into this pep talk about how everything that we're about is truth. That even our legends are truth. Every word of it's all true. And that in order to really embrace this power and in order to really be a true hero and like a fully realized hero, you have to know and understand yourself, and you have to account for your past, and only in that way can you move forward and be the greatest, most heroic hero possible. And that in attempting what he's attempting, Ikomi is showing the ultimate dedication to to the truth and to his quest of self-knowledge, and that that is a truly heroic thing, and something that even most heroes would not be prepared to undertake.
Nice speech.
And so what would I even be rolling there? Am I just rolling my potential?
Are you just giving him a pep talk to give him some pips, or are you using your psychic powers to activate supernatural abilities?
I would like to activate supernatural abilities.
Then that would be potential.
All right, and does my keen psychic or keen belief apply here?
Yes. Either one, though not both.
All right.
Nice. And what is the full effect you're trying to generate in him?
I would like for I guess since this is directly kind of a speech about the fact that he's willing to kind of go to the brink, essentially kill himself and come back, I'd kind of like for it to go to his probably either his vigor or his health, maybe his resist. Basically something about giving him kind of the pure constitution to survive this process.
Okay. So while these dice are not successes, so to speak, these dice will be not successes towards the actual alchemy. They will be successes that can mitigate failure consequences.
Okay.
Making this somewhat less risky than it was initially.
Yeah, so I need the three things: a chemical base, a catalyzing reagent, and a container to keep the the container. But
What is your chemical base? I know you've got some epic ingredients on you.
I'm going to well, the first thing I know what part of it is going to be is I'm going to part of it is it's the dew of the first morning spring. It's like I collected from a thing. It's just like it's the first life that comes after the death of winter.
Okay. Poetic.
I'm also going to request the spear from Kite's character for this process.
For what means?
It is life magic.
Yeah, what are you gonna do with the spear?
Well, it might help with the process of bringing me back to life, since it is made of life magic. I'll use it as the container. So what I want you to do is because like the I'm trying to think here. Like it'll be sort of like I'm trying to think of like how the spear will I had an action for the spear because the spear has life magic in it. Somehow being able to draw the life magic out of it into Does someone have any ideas here? Because I'm trying to think here.
You could use the spear as a catalyzing reagent.
Yeah, I'll use it as a catalyzing reagent. So I have the dewdrops as the first part, the base.
What does that mean? Like as a
It means he's going to unleash
Sleeping
some
object?
of his life magic into the potion.
Gotcha. He basically wants to stir the potion with the staff.
Correct. The first dewdrops of spring stirred with a spear of pure life magic. And what is the container? What vessel will hold this magnificent drink?
Let's see here. I will request the silent guy to let me borrow one of the skulls, and I will use it as the.
I
as a
was
fresh-
gonna suggest it. I was waiting to see
Yes.
what you were gonna say.
Not gonna lie, I was hoping someone suggested it. That's fantastic.
That
Well,
is a-
everybody is on the same page. They make a nice bowl. Multiple drinking holes. They're great.
All right, so the spear is definitely eldritch. That is going to give you successes for its quality. What is the current quality listed for that spear? I've forgotten.
That would be.
Oh my gosh, it's not in my inventory. I don't remember. I don't know if we said what its quality was. I haven't actually hit anything with this, so I haven't had that.
I'm going to go ahead and
I
say...
could- I could have sworn it was 10, but I'm not positive of that.
Yeah, that's probably the case. It's probably quality 10. It is a very, very high tier item. And then the skulls are the skulls of psychic soldiers slain in battle. That's a pretty rare ingredient. So those will give you dice. Yeah. They were not greatly powerful, but the skulls are quite fresh, so they'll give you 4 dice for their quality.
And then I have the 9 pips from the thing, plus the 8 pips from my smelling it.
What was the quality of the dew?
9.
Okay. And that's a mundane, so yeah, that would give you 9 pips. Yep.
And this is plus 10 successes already. And
Right, you've got 10 successes, which means you need 8 more. If you get less than 8, then, well, either you won't die, or you will die and not come back.
yeah, and I will be burning the thing to put my threshold to down 1. I already taxed it already. The what's it called?
Oh,
I had it here,
yeah.
omniscience. And does the smelling or tasting help? I'm guessing it doesn't for this mixture.
I think they give pips.
Yeah, they give pips. Possibly don't.
They give pips as gifts, right? Which means they stack with other things.
Yeah, because they're gifts. Yeah, because they're the things from the heritage traits.
Here's the big roll. Oh yeah. You didn't even need those pips.
So I got 23 successes.
All right, you've successfully brewed a potion of temporary death, which then presumably you drink.
Yes.
It's a little bit tense, seeing your friend dead and seeing his ghost sort of brought in to the room by the spirit speakers. They converse with it for a while. Tice, you end up with really no memory of this, so I'm not going to go through what the conversation is, but they'll tell you about it when you come back to life. Which eventually happens. So maybe an hour later, you coughing and choking and spitting out leaves. Although you did not drink any leaves, but leaves grew in your mouth from the potion while you were dead. But you spit out the leaves, and some of which continue growing into tiny saplings on the floor for a little bit. A lot of the spirit speakers are backing away from that overt life magic that's brought you back, but you have done it, and they have some things to tell you about what they found out from your spirit. Firstly, they tell you that while it is true that your body has aged for 28 years, that aging has been radically slowed by some kind of magic put upon you. That in reality, you're probably closer to 50 or 60 years old, but just your aging has been slowed down somehow. Possibly even stopped, which is a little weird for them. They said you definitely went on great adventures in your life, but there was an adventure that apparently has damaged your memory in a significant way. And the damage appears to be regressive. It will continue to damage your memory going forward. If you live long enough, you'll forget even this day. They're not sure why or how, but your spirit does have many connections to a lot of the people around here. They think that you might not be natively Faythen'oc, that you may have, when you lost your memory, just absorbed their culture instead, but that you may have actually been native to the Empire and friends with a great many people in the city. It's a little disconcerting to them that none of them remember this. Your spirit seems to remember being friends with people that do not remember being friends with you. And the suggestion is that the damage that has happened to you would not have spread to other people. So somebody or something has been erasing memories externally to your own.
So I have to find whatever has been erasing my memories and try to stop it before it fully wipes me out.
It's hard for them to be really clear about exactly what's going on. All that they were able to do is talk to your spirit about it. Your spirit knew more than they did, and so it answered their questions, but the best they can do is just recite what it said. They're not sure if the damage can be cured. All that they know is that the damage is happening. It's happening continuously inside you, yeah. And that eventually, given a long enough time period, you'll forget everything.
Can I ask them if the spirit mentioned anything about Abashi or the Lord Jaipur or Hypo?
It knew Lord Hypo. It knew Lord Jaipur, but by a different name, by his older name from before he was a lord, back when he was a constable, who actually pursued the, at the time, Lord of Jaipur on corruption charges and successfully had him expelled by the Emperor. He was not named his successor immediately, but was named his successor after he participated in some great battle. But yeah, definitely friends. Friends with, yeah, Abashi, like, part of that crew. It seems like you were the fourth member of their crew.
Yeah, I was about to say, can Abashi be summoned here to confirm that, or is she available? Like,
yeah.
Is that something she could maybe delve into to confirm it? Because it seems pretty clear that Akomi is the alchemist.
Yeah.
If anyone is in a
Abashi
position to maybe be able to confirm it, yeah, it's Abashi. Right?
Abashi is able to confirm it, and while she is still weak, and doesn't have the faculty of her voice yet. She is able to manifest for an extended period and smile and nod and yeah. She knew that you'd figure it out if she pointed you in the right directions. Upon returning to the palace to receive your reward, you are informed that with the death and subsequent posthumous testimony of the ghost of Lady Takakamis, while she has not really revealed her affiliations, she definitely was part of some larger organization. And while her husband was maybe not fully in charge of things, he was definitely complicit. And so while he was aware that they were doing things against the Emperor, the other members were just generally aware that they were doing illegal things, not specifically anti-imperial things. So Lord Takakamis is to be shipped to the Empire to face trial at the Imperial capital. And yeah, Sis Ju, the prosecutor, will be going with you, and is quite pleased to transport this prisoner to face his justice, having completed her assignment to end the drug trade in this province.
Okay, before we head out, I would like to request a solo council with Lord Draper before we head out.
Okay. He's happy to sit down with you. News is spread pretty quick. The spirit speakers are on good terms with him, and so they've let him know that you at least used to be the alchemist. He's still a little shaken because he has no memory of you, but he trusts that they were right. What would you like to speak with me about?
Even though I do not have memory of this, I guess it is good to see you again, even though my memory is continuously failing me, and one day I'll forget everything. But hopefully, I'll be able to remember enough for just long enough to be able to make sure that everyone is happy in the world.
He smiles. It is, in a way, good to see some version of you. It's so strange that neither of us can remember the other, but I do feel like you are a trustworthy man, and that brings goodness into the world.
If I can find a way to be able to undo whatever this damage is, I will try to, but I'm unsure of it.
If there's any man who is capable, it is the Emperor. And for all the good that you've caused here, I feel that he will be pleased and will show his mercy upon you. After all, you were there when we fought the demon. You were instrumental in its defeat, and he rewarded me with an entire province. Certainly he can cleanse you of this injury.
And I hope we can find. What was the name of the lord down south again?
Oh, Lord Hypo.
Lord Iapo.
Yes, I do want to speak with him. I hope he comes up this way. I've heard that he's in a bad state, but I think to find out that you're alive would do much to ease him, and perhaps we can begin to rebuild. Truth and forgiveness are the first steps.
But I'm happy that I've been able to help with this, with the case and everything here. And I hope you are able to live a long life, as so as I.
He thanks you and then proceeds to lead you guys to the ridiculous contraption. So it is explained to you guys that this carriage, this flying carriage, is operated by a wizard that lives about halfway between here and the capital. And he maintains this route with the carriage for diplomatic purposes. Not for money, he does it for basically for political points. He is treated as the lord of his own private province. It's a very tiny province that consists only of his wizard's tower, and whose residents are just him and his apprentices. But apprentices will intern with him for extended periods because it's good on the resume, and you get to learn a few things. You get particularly good with flying spells, apparently, because while he maintains the spell through his own concentration to keep the carriage afloat, the flying cats that pull it have to have their flight spells refreshed periodically by the interns that are aboard the vessel to help you travel. So there are 3 interns, three little magical apprentices who are there to basically recast fly on a cat if the spell wears off. And yeah, through this process, this carriage, which is actually a fairly large carriage too, it's quite luxurious. It's a double-decker, so you got 2 floors, and a little stairway between the 2 floors in the middle. And then there's an upper deck on the front end where the driver is driving the cats. There's a backup driver so that the driver can sleep during the night because it is a fairly long flight. And yeah, the seats can all unfold and become beds. It's a quite well-designed piece, but definitely designed by a wizard. Designed for comfort, for luxury, and to have magical spells cast at it ridiculously. There's like little golden antennas poking out of it to receive magical spells more effectively, things like that. The cat's harnesses are really weird because of the way that they have to pull the carriage up and down in addition to left and right. And of course, forward. These cats are also somewhat different in species from the cats that you've been seeing in this area. They seem to be lighter weight, slightly larger heads, bigger eyes, but overall smaller. And yeah, with this, Galista, Sinlan, and Radico will bid you farewell. They are going to travel south with Leaves on the River to take her back to her son. And this will be the last that they travel with you. But they thank you for being good companions and leading them to glorious tales of triumph. Ed, Nergui has some options here. Sis Ju would like to take you on as an understudy in your travels to the capital. She still believes that you are a student of law, and she thinks that escorting...
I am a student of law.
Of course you are. And she believes that escorting you to... well, she believes that escorting Takegomas and seeing his trial through would be educational for you.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And I will inform her that my main concern at the moment is to travel and gain more experience of the different provinces in the Empire. But I've never been to the Imperial capital, and so heading there would be very interesting.
She says typically the Imperial capital is the last stop, but in your case, I think an excellent exception can be made with this opportunity that has presented itself.
Agreed. I say I have promised myself to assist these foreign folk. I say, and I will see through my. A lawyer should be trusted. I say.
Well, we will be happy to have their testimony present if needed. And also, I think that it's good that we share our culture with those of our southern province. Without a lord, they do not often get to see what the culture of the empire and its civilized manners are like. So I think this will be a positive experience for everyone. And this sets you guys directly on the path to the book, or the shield, to the shield that you're looking for.
Yeah, we're finally going where we're supposed to be.
Indeed. The flight is a little disconcerting. A couple times, a cat just like falls loose in the reins and dangles from the cart until a apprentice can crawl out on the reins and get into touch. They have to touch it with their hand to complete the spell. So a few times you feel like maybe you're about to lose an apprentice as he's just like clinging to ropes that are holding up a dangling cat that's panicking in the air. But miraculously, no apprentices are lost. And a couple days later, you are landing at a wizard's tower. There is a huge amount of commotion going on at this tower. The intention was for you guys to stop and spend an evening of rest here, as rest upon the cart itself is very difficult. It's not super relaxing to be flying in the air at ridiculous speeds, rocking back and forth as cats try and all pull you in the same direction. But for those 2 nights, you can each recover 1 tax each for each night. So 2 tax in total, and then you arrive. Now, the intention here, like I said, was to stay a night, get a proper night's rest before making the final 2-day journey north to the capital. You've covered an enormous amount of distance, while not as fast as your Super Eagle transit back in Faythen'oc. It's pretty good, pretty fast way to travel, covering some pretty ridiculous distance. The reason, though, that you might not want to stay the night becomes apparent as the wizard has gotten some dire news. There's a pair of spirit speakers in his tower who are relaying information to him. And they've actually come from some distance from a village nearby to make sure they're here when you guys arrive. Apparently, after you guys left, Jaipur was attacked by Lord Taktikamis. The Lord of Jaipur was slain, and the demon that was held within his mind was set loose. They tell you that the spirit speakers there did bring his wife and son safely into hiding, but that Lord Hypo is now possessed by the psychic demon and is coming north, seeking the spear. The spirit speakers have advised that you take the spear immediately to the Emperor without delay. You are exhausted, so this is up to you. You guys can spend a night resting here and recover 8 tax, plus whatever Tice can cook up for you. Or you can get immediately back in, only recover the 2 tax for the journey, but get a head start against the oncoming demon.
I told him he should have let us deal with that demon. And now he's dead. So score.
Hey, man.
I don't know, but I'm fine with proceeding directly from here. But if somebody else has compelling need to rest, then that's fine.
Even though I do not remember it, he was an old friend, and I would like to make sure that that we're able to get the spear there, so that we might be able to somehow deal something with a demon with the Emperor's help.
Well, we don't have to make this decision right away, as this is a pretty good stopping point.
Yeah.
And it's a little past midnight. But yeah, the current situation is the Emperor is the only one the Spirit Speakers believe can deal with the demon. And so, since the demon is definitely coming for the spear, they suggest just take the spear to the Emperor. When the demon comes for it, the Emperor will defeat it. And yeah, that's where you guys are for the tonight. Do you want to go ahead and do closing ceremony?
Yes, I shall. I'd like to give one to the lawyer for being just forging up basically evidence against the lady by having a secret message with her. It's been like, I found these secret notes, and it's like, I like to give one to Miles for just for his minutes that he wasn't going to stop them from actually just like doing that ridiculous of picking her up and tossing her down the waterfall, but he was going to do a monologue at the same time while it was happening. He was going to probably write down a story about how every time for each stone that kissed her body as she fell down the waterfall. And then I'd like to give one to Kite for continuing his deciphering and finding out more information about this supposed demon in the river. And I like to give one to Distant for just having the oddity of this disorder that I apparently have now.
Thank you. As dangerous as it is for the GM to level up.
All right, I'd like to give one to Akomi Masashi for volunteering to kill yourself. It's a technicality, but you did volunteer to die in service of kind of nailing down a truth that I think at that point we all pretty much kind of suspected, but we really nailed it down and concluded a very important part of this side plot. To Nerguli, just for being willing to just completely fabricate evidence in order to secure the conviction that I think we both wanted, that we knew on some level was correct, and that secured us passage to the Empire or to the capital city. And to Draven for ominously referring multiple times to the fact that if I pursued trying to psychically delve into Akomi Masashi, that I would be dealt with. Not sure what it meant, but it made me decide not to do it. So I think your goal was accomplished.
Yeah, to Tice for killing yourself. That's it's the most useful the most useful the most useful suicide that we've had in a player character. To Miles for just a lot of interesting stuff. Basically, I think my favorite thing was basically just when you just beat her down psychically, right? She was just like, I'm going to use my special magic trick with my mental powers to call my friends. And you're like, nope. You're like, no, you're not. And you stopped it. Then you didn't, but like, instead of just stopping it, you're like, I'm going to stop it. And then I'm going to make you never do that again. Like, you're going to be terrified to do that. And then to Troy, you were pretty quiet this session, I think. But I'm going to give you an experience point for that, because that's pretty in character for you so far. You're kind of in the background, just kind of watching shit, which I think is actually your character. So, I mean, I'm not entirely sure my character's really met you yet, formally. I feel like there's someone around that's in addition to the other people that I usually interact with, and I have this general sense that I like that person, but I don't really know who they are.
Yeah, you like gave me an order, but weren't even sure you were giving it to me. And then there were samples returned to you, but it probably wasn't even certain that I gave them to you. You asked for something and then you received it. That's all that really happened.
Yeah, that works for me.
Although every time your character does something, I realize how well we get along. Which leads into my thing. Nergui for attempting to poison the lady because she had served her purpose. I'm very sad you were unable to, and that I was not there to witness it. I probably would have helped.
I mean, she did get chucked over a waterfall 3 times, so I mean,
That's true.
I feel like
her death was going to happen.
I feel like it all worked out.
Yeah, we all had planned her death in different ways. That was probably the most hilarious way it could have happened. So, Heldrin for the psychic session. Yes, for the. You basically you overdid the psychic stuff this session, which was pretty good. You've had a couple here and there, but this one it was taking her down psychically, and then searching and finding her because you had known she would be a beacon, and using that to like immediately track her down, which may have been good, may have been. And then Tais for the or a coma for the objective and the potion itself, but the ingredient list was very, very smart, very thought out on what you would use, and it all made sense for what you were doing. So I really liked what you came up with, and I'm really, really happy that you used the skull as a vessel. It was good. That's all.
I guess you could say in the real terms, I was actually a hero reborn.
Thank you all for participating. That was a pretty exciting session. I'm happy with how things have turned out.
And you had a character death in this episode.
Yeah, we did. We totally had a character death. We had an NPC death, too. And some, like, random, non-essential, unnamed NPC deaths.
I think we had several, because we lost Jaipura, too.
At least I was able to have a good, friendly talk with him before he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's as soon as we figured out there was a demon roaming around his mind, I'm like, yeah, he's gonna die. Like that's like, as far as Chekhov's guns go, like that you know, that's not the kind of plot device you just kind of randomly like mention and then leave it. So I'm like, yeah, something's gonna happen to that. He's probably dead unless we get that demon out of him. And then he got all pissy about it. I was like, fine, whatever, dude.
To be fair, I don't know that we wanted to free that.
Oh, not free it. Like, do something. Just do something else about it. I don't even know if that would have been possible, but we could have tried if you would have let us.
Yeah, we could have moved it to your head.
Yeah, I probably would have done a better job with it than he did.
Actually, your character is not necessarily sure about that. His mind had that thing locked down in a really tight, efficient way. He was just built with this absolute belief that he was the police officer keeping the criminal in jail, and that the demon was the criminal. And it was this ironclad thing. Like, the demon couldn't even reach through the bars. It's all made of tentacles, and it could not even reach a tentacle through the bars to get at you. That's how locked in it was. So.
Until we let it reach out a bit. Or we reached in, whichever way that went.
Yeah, it was definitely struggling. You could feel it struggling, but it didn't have any prayer of getting out. And his response was an overreaction. He's cautious by nature. But after he got a letter from the Emperor, he was fine.
No, I bear him no ill will, especially, you can't speak ill of the dead. but yeah. It's a bummer he didn't let.
Oh man, I just love the reaction of the spirit speakers of like talking to a spirit and then immediately it getting back into its body and be like, okay.
It's like when your friend is like blackout drunk and you're trying to get him to go to bed.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then we'll pick this up next week. Is everybody good for next week?
Yep.
Yep.
Excellent. All right.